Hello, and welcome to That School Speaks. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, and this is episode 167. I apologize for rattling and drinking and straws and ice, but it's like 4, oh my gosh, it's almost 5. And this is an energy dip time in my land. I can get this podcast recorded before everybody gets home. Let me shower you. Are you having a good week? I truly hope you are. So this week is going to, you know what, I might not do. Should I just own this? I have a half an hour. Should I just own the fact that maybe I'll hold off on knitting and spinning altogether until next week? I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Because, yeah, to make this a small chunk, I think that's what I need to do. I'm going to give myself permission to that. So if you're only here for knitting and spinning, I'll see you next week. I'll have some knitting and spinning then. I have some now, but I'm just not going to tell you about it. Did I do that whole thing? My name is Amy Beth. I'm the hostess. You can find me as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. That's me. Apologize if I forgot that part. Or if I've now said it twice. This week's episode will contain shenanigans and shenanigans of the mind. I feel like this podcast might need to be called Shenanigans Squared. Even though I'm not really sure if that's actually the correct. But I'm just going to go with it. I mean, because technically I feel like it's 2 times shenanigans, but we're going to go shenanigans raised to the 2 because I'm the boss of me and you're not. That's right. I'm not even lying. I just wrote that in the wrong place, but I'm sure I'll be able to find it still. So if this podcast is called Episode 167, that's why, because I couldn't find my note about what to call it. Okay, let's start with shenanigans. Okay, so this weekend was the Knitting Pipeline Retreat. Oh my gosh. It's our 4th annual Knitting Pipeline Retreat. I say our. Not because I'm the size of 2 people. Not because I am, in fact, secretly Russian royalty. Although, let's face it, clearly I am. But in fact, because I went with other humans. So that is why I'm using the plural throughout the episode. Not just because I'm crazy, but in addition to the fact that I'm crazy. Oh, first I guess I should say before I forget. Even though this isn't going to have any knitting. I lied. Finished object. I'm wearing this sans serif, which I finished. It is knit with, here, I'll put in a little picture of me standing up here. Okay, so I apologize, you can now see like more of my crazy house. But there are flowers, that's nice, right? So here it is. Wait, this is my sans serif, yay, it's done. Ta-da. Here it is and all the things. Ta-da. So, hopefully I remember to do that. It is knit with Harrisville Designs Watershed in the Barn Door colorway. I feel like it's kind of like side down. I'm wearing a very high t-shirt with it, so it's a little bit. Anyway, I enjoy knitting it very much. It's a very pleasant knit. I think it's going to work out well. I was afraid that I would be dying with heat during the pipeline retreat, and I was fine. I just had I had a t-shirt on underneath it, but I didn't get so hot that I take it off. It was cold that day outside, but inside it was warm enough, and I was still okay. There was pilling, as you would expect any sweater of natural fibers to experience, but there was no more pilling than I would expect, perhaps maybe even less than I would expect, because I am a woman in which lots of my things touch each other. That's right. I'm trying to feel like there's be like something quippy to say about that. I give myself lots of hugs. That's not right. But anyway, my flesh certainly does. So I have lots of surface area that touches and rubs and gets busy with itself. And I did not experience, you probably can't see, but I did not experience more pilling than I would anticipate. In fact, perhaps less. Yay. I'm excited about this. We'll see how it wears over long term, but I found it to be quite comfortable. I feel like it's pretty versatile style-wise. It's a very classic style, so I feel like you wear it either... I wear it with jeans and a t-shirt. Surprise! I didn't wear it with yoga pants, though. But I feel like you could, of course, also dress it up. Because clearly, it's fancy. Like me. But anyway, so back to retreats. And did I say that I wore it all day? Like, I was wearing it from like 6 a.m. until like 10, 11 p.m. Right? The whole day. By the way, I was also wearing a bra that whole time. In fact, even longer than that. And there was knitters at Eastern time zone and Central time zone. I love these knitters so much. That was like a 14-hour bra day. No, it was way more than that. 6 a.m. here. And then when we went, then by the time the office, like 1 a.m. here. What is that? It's 19-hour bra day. I don't know if I did that math correctly. Don't judge me. I love these knitters. Oh, but so I was saying that I went with other humans. I went with Joanna, who is Knit Spin Farm. And I went with Malia, who rhymes with Maria. And I went with Corey, who was Corey the girl. And it was of course, it was a carload of awesomeness. So, yay. What should I talk about? We did the things we normally do. We went to go see the Leicester Longwools, which are a rare breed. And the hostess at the farm there is always beautiful and fun to play and fun to interact with. And they have a chicken mansion. Dude, their chicken house is a full-on like 3-story, like Victorian. Not human size. Not really even chicken size. Like, cause technically I feel like you get a 3-story Victorian chicken sized, it would probably be bigger but it's still enormous. And it's like a Victorian. And there's a second one in the works. I mean, I don't know that it's going to be Victorian, but it's going to be a very schmancy chicken house. So who knows what the world will bring us? I'm very excited to find out. I apologize if I tend to look down more in this episode because there were so many things I wanted to try to remember. I'm sure I will forget them. But there were things I wanted to try to remember. And so I'm going to attempt to do that. Even though as soon as I hit the stop record, I'll be like, oh. Did I say that I was going to do Shenanigans of the Mind, and update? I don't know if I said the update part. I'll also do a shameless self-promotion at the end here. Oh, so we had lunch. We did the candy store and the quilt store because Washington, Illinois, while a very small town, I mean, I shouldn't say it's a very small town because I've been to some very small towns. While a small town, does somehow manage to support a candy store, a popcorn store, an ice cream store, many other stores, and a kitchen gadgetry store, which I've not been into because I'm afraid of dropping all of my dollars. Support all these things. Isn't that exciting for Washington, Illinoisers? So we get to the retreat, and I get out of the car, and I realize that I have a flat tire. Right? Bummer. Actually, when we got done with lunch, I looked at the tire and went, that tire is very low. I thought, oh, so anyway, we get to the retreat. I noticed that the tire is flat, pretty flat. And we go, but I'm like, I'm like trying to think to myself. I'm talking to Corey. I'm like, okay, what do we do? And I didn't want to like make a big deal out of it because it's really not a big deal. I mean, it's stressful, but it's really not a big deal. But I'm like, in my head, I'm immediately like, oh, this is going to be such a pain. It's going to take away from the retreat because I'm going to have to go to a place and I'm going to call a place and I have to wait in their terrible outgassing waiting room because we're just talking about that too at the retreat. Their tire outgassing waiting room, and then I'm going to get cancer of my face and miss the pipeline retreat. That is the worst combination of things that can happen. It's not technically the worst, but it's pretty bad. So of course I'm doing all of that stuff, the like panic somersaults in my brain. I'm trying to be calm. Because I need to go in and say hello and get my bag because I gotta get my stuff. Guess you get a free bag, which I now have 4 of. And some Quince & Company Finch because hello, they're also a sponsor of the Knitting Pipeline and they're amazing. So I went in and put my things down. I got to say hello to a few people, and then did the text to my partner like, I have a flat. You know, like, I don't know why technically why I even texted him. Maybe just for like somebody to be like, oh, that stinks. But he was like, well, you could go to the gas station and get a fix-a-flat and then, see what happens. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So I go into Little Washington, Illinois, because we parked to get our lunch. I saw there was a BP right there. So I go in, and as soon as I turn in, I'm like, oh, maybe this is not the place to get fix-a-flat, because it is a very small convenience store, but there are service bays. So I'm like, well, but I'm like, they're going to make, if there is a service person, I'm going to wait like a year and a half. So I go in, and there's a little fellow who it can't be, in my heart, I can't believe he's more than 15. He's probably 35 and has 7 children, but he looked like he was 15. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm getting old. I can't really tell how old people are anymore. And I don't want to offend him like he's listening. Whatever. The ether might tell him. I don't want to offend him by thinking he was younger than he was, but he looked very young. And I was like, do you have fix-a-flat? And he was like, no. But do you know what's wrong with your tire? And I'm like, no. And he said, well, I can come look at it. And I'm like, okay. So he comes out. He didn't even have to move my car because the magic of Washington, Illinois made the screw that I had caught in my tire go face up so that he could immediately see it. And the way I turned in, the wheel was even turned out so he could easily access it. Washington, Illinois is amazing. Good things happen there. So it's like perfectly aligned so he could just, I was like, it could not have been better. I could have moved my car and turned my wheel, but whatever, I didn't even have to because Illinois. Ta-da! So, by the way, I forgot to mention that at Joanna's I got to see goats and sheep. See that? But so I turned my wheel, or didn't have to do any of that things, which is perfect. And he was like, I could fix that if you'd like me to. And I'm like, yeah, I would kind of like you to do that. So he goes in, and he gets this like little beat up red metal toolbox. It looks like it's really like 50 years old. It's all dented and stuff, but it's tiny. It's not like a regular toolbox. It's just like this tiny little box. So he brings it out and he opens it up and he like puts this like augury thing in the, well, he takes the screw out of my tire. I didn't get it back. I should have just asked for it back so I could just give it the evil eye, but I didn't. Really, I could give it the evil eye, but things could have gone so much worse. Like that tire could have blown out. It could have flattened en route and we would have had to call. It could not have worked out better, right? So he gets the basically looks like a corkscrew, really like a mega corkscrew. And he like augers out the hole. I don't know why you have to do that, but. And then he gets out this opens up this little thing that's like a plastic, no, it's like a plastic case, but like this rubbery tubing stuff. And I'm like, how is this gonna work? And then he threads it through this, which essentially is like a needle on a handle, right? Except the eye is facing away from the handle. And he threads it to there and he puts this goopy stuff all over it. I had no idea how, theoretically, this was not the most. When people say they're like putting a plug in a tire or patch in a tire, I'm thinking it's imagining it's like involving chemistry and alchemy, and like it's insane, and they have to I don't know, sacrifice frog or something. I had no idea. It's totally not that complicated. So he puts this goopy stuff on it, which totally looks just like rubber cement. I know it wasn't, but that's exactly what it looked like. And then he put all the goopy stuff on it, and then he put the goopy stuff on the hole, and then he put the thing in the hole, like the needly eye thing with the with the thing folded in half inside of it, the tube. And then he shoved that in there, and then he pulled the tool back out. And so then the ends of the tubey, plasticky stuff, rubbery stuff came out, and he trimmed those off with his wire cutters. And then he was like, I'll put the air in it and make sure it doesn't leak. And I'm like, okay. So he fills it with air. He checks the pressure. He listens for it. He's like, I think you're fine. That'll be $15. I was like, oh my gosh. This thing that was not great could not have gone any better. How exciting is that? Yay, Washington, Illinois. You're the best. So not only did he fix it in like 10 minutes maybe. I didn't have to pull into a bay. Like nothing. It was the best. So all I'm saying is yay. Clearly it's Paula's town. But anyway, it was very exciting. Yay! So that happened, but that was good. And then we got to visit some, and that was good. And people gave me gifts. Thank you, people gave me gifts. That was so nice of you. I didn't bring the gifts because I feel kind of gluttonous talking about them. Isn't that the worst? But I kind of do. But now I think about it, I should have brought them over because one of them is really exciting. Heidi Yarn Hoarder's daughter, gave me a pot holder, and maybe the reason I also can't bring it over is because I may have already used it. It's one of the Hairstyle Designs. They make the extra large looms so that the pot holder, which is like the loops, like from when you were a kid, but now like not made of melting fabrics, but instead cotton. But instead of like the one that you make that's the small one, which really is only like this big. It's kind of a dangerous size. The extra large one is like this big, and it's huge, and it's the perfect size. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, I totally have one of those looms. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm just gonna admit it. But it's kind of a righteous pain in the butt to make those things. I know, I'll just admit all of my flaws. But then Heidi made one for me. Yay! So I have one of those, yay! And I got board games and apple sock yarn. What is up with that? It's like the watermelon sock yarn, only it's apples. Like it looks like apple slices when you do it. What? I know, the world is crazy and full of magic. It's not so. But anyway, it was so good. What else happened? We just got to visit, which was so pleasant. And we had the lovely dinner. And it was all the salads, which was delicious. And then we get to visit some more. And then we went back to the hotel. And we stay at the Super 8 because we're cheap like that. And Corey got us a free hotel room for their points. Right. I may have used up all of my luck in this one trip. I may not be able to leave the house for like 4 months now that I think about it. I should probably just shut myself in. But it's true. But anyway, craziness. Also, then we visited, but then it was so late. It was like 1 o'clock our time, and I am a devout 10:30 bedtimer because I'm an old lady and I need my 8 hours. It's true. So then I woke up at like 5:30 in the morning, Central Time, 6:30 my time, because that's the time I always wake up. But I did get some reading done, so that was good. And really, it was fine because that's the wonderful thing about the Knitting Pipeline Retreat. The whole time you're there, you're like, this is not enough time. And it really, because you can't talk to 130 people in a day and a half, essentially. And so it isn't enough time in that way, but like by the time 4 o'clock rolls around on Saturday, I'm like, it's the perfect length of time because I'm tired and I want to go to my bed. Whatever, it's true. It's all the truth. But anyway, so we got up at like 5:30 in the morning. I got up at 5:30 and I read, and it was very pleasant. And then by the time we got to the Pipeline Retreat, Joanna Spring of Knit Spoon Farm had made, everybody takes care of us so well, had made goat cheese and fig muffins that were like whole grain. And she had baguettes and cheese, which is perfect. Because oftentimes at these things, it's very easy to fall into like a sugar well. Because lots of junky foods that are not messy for your hands, like, and I say junky, and I mean like, you know, nibblies that are shelf stable and don't require a hot plate, are sugary. And so it's very easy to fall into like oh, I don't feel so good. I think I ate too much candy because it's Halloween. Do you know what I mean? But these were so delicious. And of course, all the ladies and gentlemen who do the baking for the retreat had made beautiful quick breads. So there was like banana bread and chocolate chip something bread and all of the breads. But I was very content to consume my goat cheese and fig muffin of awesomeness. What? I should have had 2. It's okay, it's over now. She'll probably give me the recipe if I really ask for it. Because she's nice like that. But, so now I'm looking because I'm like, what did I forget to say? Wait, did I say? Is it Olivia? Oh no, Yarn Order's daughter. What did I say your name wrong? I don't even know anymore. Now my brain's all confused. Oh, I'm the worst person ever. Oh well, I can't remember. I'm really sorry. You were just a lovely little person. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, and then Rohan Knitter gave me honey from the Weathertop Aviary. Shut up. I may have made an excuse, used some thin excuse to make biscuits for dinner last night so that I could eat them with honey. I'm fat lady, it's true. But I can't help it. All of the things are good. So, okay, so that's what I want to make sure I did that. Oh, the other thing I want to talk about is the fun thing about retreats is it's fun to just hang out with knitters and spinners and fiberers. But the other cool thing about it is that you're kind of with people, well, you can be with people, or you have this like basic contextual fabric that you're all existing within. So it's like fun to talk about other stuff too. Like we talked about bullet journaling, and we talked about memory foam mattresses and mattresses in general, and like what size mattress. My husband and I still sleep on a full mattress, even though I'm me. Don't be astounded, it's true. But we are thinking of upgrading. But so that's really fun. But what is that? That was the point to that, I thought. Maybe not. Maybe. Oh, but part of that is also that, so you're getting to talk to other people about all sorts of different things, but then you get to also see so many knitted items. I know my hair is a wreck. Just stop. Just focus on my face. That you get to see so many awesome fish. Like, I feel like every year that I go to the retreat, it's like the year of the Stephen West shawls, because again, as I've discussed before, sometimes looking at the picture, okay, most of the time looking at the picture that is like the front picture of the Stephen West pattern, I don't understand it enough to do it. You know what I mean? But then every year at this retreat, somebody has a Stephen West pattern and I'm like, what? I need to make that tomorrow. So this year it wasn't a Stephen West pattern necessarily. There was one Stephen West pattern that I really liked, but now my thing is over there and I can't find it, but whatever. We'll talk about that maybe another day. But the pattern that I did see that I must make immediately is the Shard, which is by, I wrote it down, by Romy Hill, or Romy Hill, I don't know, whatever, Shard. And another crafty girl, Ponky, had it. It is such a cool pattern. And again, I don't know that I would have really, not that I would have looked at it and been like, meh, but it's really fun in real life because it's one of those patterns where you let the yarn dictate, which like Paula's Magic Cake yarn, Magic Cake shawl. And like this, the sock where you purl a certain color, like I'm going to only purl the pink bumps so that they pop out. It's one of the ones where you let the pattern, you let the yarn dictate the pattern. So when you have a color change, you get to knit stockinette versus garter. Anyway, it's super cool, and I may have done a custom order for some yarns. I'll show you that in the future. So I'll tell you more about it when it happens, but that is one of the fun things that happens at retreats. It's true. It's true. And so then, oh, and there were lots of good classes this year, because there always are, and people volunteer to teach those breakout classes. I'm going to finish really quickly. Not really quickly, but relatively quickly. So that is always fun. This year there was a brioche class, but it filled up, so the folks at my table asked if I could show them how to do brioche. And I did a decent job. I didn't do a great job, but I did a decent job. So that was fun. So you actually had some sort of like formal exchange of information. That was exciting too. But then there was the market. Well, there was lunch. And then there was the market. So we got to set up for the market. And then it's just so fun because most of my business interactions, again, I see names again and I'm like, oh, this person, and that's fun. But it's really exciting to see people's faces. It's very flattering that people are excited to buy your product, right? How that best job ever. Never happened to me before. Well, the bread making did. That was true. But it was still different because those people were fancier and they weren't as like, yay! They were just like, That was some good bread though. So it's exciting. It's so flattering when people get excited, but it's also just fun to get to talk to people. Right at the beginning, it's always crazy because I'm like, oh, why is the Wi-Fi doesn't love me? And but then after that, it gets fun because you get to talk to people and you get to, again, just have all this like positive, good energy around you. And that's pretty much the whole weekend. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everybody who came and said hello and sat down with me and talked for a bit during the retreat. I'm sorry I don't always, I need to do better. I have poor impulse control though. So like, it's so nice. I'm in this conversation with people. I'm like, yeah, we're having a nice conversation. I really need to be better at being like, but I also need to go have nice conversations with other people. But I have trouble ripping off that Velcro and doing that. So I appreciate so much that other people were willing to come around and sit and say hello or catch me and say hello and chat for a minute. That was always nice. Thank you. Anyway, just all positive and good stuff. Paula and Bronwyn always do a great job. Anyway, everybody does a great job. It's wonderful and good. I should just re-record this whole podcast, but I'm not going to because I don't have time. Yes. Okay. So then the other thing we're talking about is shenanigans in the mind. I think I could do it. Okay. So I don't know if it was the last time, it was time before that, I think, that I talked about the Nearly Perfect People. I had just finished reading that. And one of the things I talked about that I thought was so fascinating was that the author discusses both the taciturn nature of the Finnish people and the fact that their language is very simple. And so I had a couple of private messages back, so I won't say who they were from. Not that they would not own what they said, but I don't know. I just never know how to negotiate that, so I just won't. And one of them is from, she's from a Norse country, or she's from a Scandinavian country. I believe she said she's from Norway. And she said that she doesn't understand how the Finnish language be categorized as simple because it's the one Nordic language that she and like the people she knows just don't seem to have a grasp on. So one of the reasons that is because, and actually it's hard for English speakers too. It is ranked, and I looked this up. I'm not just making it up. But I might lie by accident. But anyway. So it is ranked 3 out of 4 in difficulty for English speakers. So it's not like as challenging as like Mandarin Chinese, but it's much more challenging, for example, than Norwegian or Swedish or Danish, because it is a Uralic. Is that how we say it? Like the Ural Mountains, Uralic language. So it's more closely related to like Bosnian than it is in fact related to Swedish, which is right next door. So they're not really sure exactly why, and I certainly don't know why, but isn't that interesting? So I will go back to the book, and it does in fact say that, so this is where I got that information from. He says that on page 249, he says another theory about why Finnish kids do so well, particularly in the earlier stages of their schooling, is the simplicity of their language. The Canadian journalist Malcolm Gladwell famously speculated that Chinese children do well at math because their number system is logical, clear, simple, and monosyllabic, compared with English and many other languages. Perhaps the same applies to Finnish. Once a child learns to read and write at age 6 or so, that skill is done once and for all. Of course, vocabulary increases, but new words just slot in, a Finnish friend told me when I put the theory to him. Does this simplicity give Finnish children a linguistic leg up, I wonder? Doing away with the future tense must save a bit of time for a start. Finland's Swedish-speaking schools, so it's Swedish language schools, do perform closer to European averages. Swedish is a more complex language and presumably takes longer to master. So, isn't that interesting? And again, even though Swedish is more, and again, I'm not a linguist, so I don't understand, but I'm assuming it is like the grammar within which the language exists is more complicated, the Swedish versus the Finnish. But again, there's increased vocabulary, and I'm not in any way putting a judgment on Finnish, because again, clearly it's very hard for English speakers to learn. I just thought it was a very interesting concept. And then the other person who wrote me said that She had lived in Italy for several years, and she speaks fluent Italian. I believe she said she was born in Italy, but she currently lives in Finland and has lived in Finland for quite some time. She said that it was, there was lots of and this is on the point of the taciturn, like the fact that they just don't speak very much within their day-to-day lives. And she was talking about how in Italy she had lots and lots of conversation, like chit-chatty style things where we said a lot of words but didn't really say anything. Whereas in Finland, she had much fewer perhaps conversations in terms of volume of, but they were much more revealing and in depth and interesting and about something. So I thought that was very interesting. And again, that kind of goes back to, and so that was, he talks about the high context culture. And that was the thing where they were talking about how sometimes people, speaking of Finland as a high context theory, and what that is, according to Hall, a high context culture is one in which the people share the same kind of expectations, experiences, background, and even genes. Such people have less need for verbal communication because they already know so much about each other and the situations in which they typically find themselves. In high context cultures, words take on a greater meaning, but fewer are needed. So that would totally tie into what you were saying. In a low context culture, like London, where hundreds of different nationalities, races, and religions, are represented, there is a greater need to communicate verbally to be sure of making oneself understood. There is less common ground, fewer unspoken assumptions are made, more gaps need to be filled in. So that's interesting. There is less common ground, fewer unspoken assumptions are made, more gaps need to be filled in. So the example he says is that sometimes when you're having a coffee or something, like with a Finnish man, he might just say, "Give me the coffee." Like when you're just sitting around, instead of like saying, "Oh, please, could you pass the coffee? Thank you very much." And it can come across as a very gruff and abrupt thing. But the reality is that in these high context cultures, you don't need to fill in all that like floral, like rococo-ness of language, because it is understood that I am not disrespecting you by asking for the coffee. I think that's brilliant. I mean, it's fascinating, right? That again, and it's not to indicate that it's not to indicate like simplicity in a bad way. It's a very honest simplicity, which I think is fascinating. Because we all try to simplify so much in our lives. But the fact that your very language and interaction can be simplified. But perhaps the fact that really only works in more of a monocultural situation is also fascinating, right? So I just wanted to clarify those 2 points because Lord knows there should be a whole segment on this show called I Lied to You, Here's the Truth, or I Lied to You, Maybe Here's Another Lie by Accident, or clarifications of my own simple mind. But I can't really be held to that. That sounds like a lot of work and this is free. But I did want to say those things. So yay. Okay, I think that is all that I want to say about that. I think so. Yay. Oh my goodness, right? Ooh, and so it was fun. I actually really appreciated that. I appreciate those comments because it's always fun to learn more about. Because again, I'm just reading a book by one dude. You know what I mean? Like we most of us are, and there's always perspectives that influence one's writing and the information that's presented. Because certainly it's a book about 4 countries. My family's gonna come home at any minute. So, but anyway, I just want to say I appreciated those messages because it made me like solidify those things that I had kind of just like plucked from the ether, and I appreciated that. So quickly, I will try to tell you what's going to be in the update this Friday, March 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have several of the bags at the main retreat bag. Of course, yours will not be tagged. They will have a handle. I just don't have one out. It'll be in the large wedge and the sweater size. And I just want to still has a tag on. I just haven't gone through and taken them off. So there's those. And then this will be in a bit of a haphazard order because I'm feeling the pressure. Also apologize if the wind is howling at you because it is howling here. There's also this super fun fabric. This is my Aran sweater size bag, so it's great for like a bulky weight sweater for a woman of my size, like I'm a 26, 28. Or if you're doing like an Afghan of some sort, like I keep my vivid squares in this size bag. Because lots of my bags that are larger have a very big gusset, which makes them not look as big when they're folded, but it's got a big old gusset on it, so it actually will hold quite a bit. And that fabric is available in both the Aran sweater and the regular sweater size. This fun fabric with the crow amongst the poppy-ish flowers. She's available in a sweater and the Aran sweater size. And there are actually several bags I'm not showing you, just for the interest of time. And then there's this super fun fabric, right? So it has like, meadow mushrooms and bellflowers and jimson weeds and roses and these sweet little birds. What? So this is a sweater size bag. It's also available in large wedge. There's this fun guy. Who's the fun little sweet Nordic foxes and rabbitses and birdses. It is available only in the large wedge size. Moby polar bears. Is available in both large wedge, which is what this is, and sweater size. And these are all, let's see, everything I've shown you so far has been a decorator weight except this guy, which is an interfaced quilter's cotton. And there's also these lovely ladies, which I love so much. They're navy. I can never tell if it's going to read navy or black. But for some reason, I feel like they're knitters. And I think the reason is because many of them have a pom-pom on their hat. But either way, it's a great expanding community kind of bag. That's the title of Megan Williams' sock bag. She was also there in As a Joy. Yay! And then, okay, now let's try that. And then there's this, which is also a large wedge. Oh, I love this fabric so much. This is also a quilter's cotton that's interfaced. It's one of these fun, several layers of texture. But the text on it has like the earliest berry, and it's like an excerpt from a seed advertisement. There's also larger and finer this year than ever before, $4 or $5 worth of the choicest, no, I don't know, but it's some sort of plant for only $1. Right? How fun is that? So it's got that like old, like, you know, the Wendy's table when you were a kid. Right. Yay. So there's that. We're going to run out of battery and my family's going to come home. So there's this one, which is a small wedge size. Yay, that one. Actually, I really love this fabric. Eek. And then there's some sock bags with chickens, which also have the fun text behind. I like to pretend they are, in fact, egg money cards, like the list of your egg money. There's fun foxes. And then if you liked this beautiful watercolor bird gal, I've actually ordered more of this fabric and we'll have an update on March 11th. So not this Friday, but next Friday. Okay, I think that's all. I'll stop talking because the camera's gonna run out of battery and my family's gonna come home and the wind's gonna blow us down, but not really. I'll talk next time. Bye.